The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are about to take you higher. Broadcasting from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to you listening around the world. This is Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. You can follow Tessa on our Facebook page at Spaced Out Radio, on Twitter at TessaTNT, and you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for the archive. But we break on command 'cause women rule the world. Buckle up, space travelers. Let the countdown begin.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time to go for a ride with host Tessa Nicole Thomas.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening, Spaced Out Radio. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 419.9 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, October 20th, Sunday, October 21st for those of you on the East Coast and beyond, and this is Spaced Out Radio.
We are the fighters, we control, we're always right, they let it go. Behind that pretty smile, they know that women rule the world.
Hope you guys had a rockin' week, an awesome day, and an even better evening. I am your host, TessaTNT, and I'm live tonight broadcasting from beautiful Bayfield, Colorado. We are 100,000 strong, nightly on Spaced Out Radio Network, spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, as well as Deep Talk Radio, which you can find at deeptalkradio.com. Don't forget to head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can peruse the Spaced Out Radio store and read the encounter online dealing with everything strange, paranormal, and odd. And I must warn you, the Spaced Out Radio store is under construction, so if you could hold on a little bit, it'll be up and running shortly. Well, tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to Ace Montgomery of the Bigfoot Researchers Organization. It's actually Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. Founded in 1995, the BFRO is now the oldest and largest organization of its kind, a virtual community of scientists, journalists, and specialists from diverse backgrounds. The researchers who compose the BFRO are engaged in projects including field and laboratory investigations designed to address various aspects of the Bigfoot phenomena. As a result of the education and experience of its members and the quality of their efforts, the BFRO is widely considered as the most credible and respected investigative network involved in the study of this subject. It has always been the policy of BFRO to study the species in ways that will not physically harm them. The BFRO organizes the reports, observations, and directs expeditions to places where the observations have occurred. Through this process, the BFRO steadily improves the size and scope of its collective expertise about these animals. The overall mission of the BFRO is multifaceted, but the organization essentially seeks to solve the mystery surrounding the Bigfoot phenomenon. That is, to derive conclusive documentation of the species' existence. This goal is pursued through the proactive collection of empirical data and physical evidence from the field and by means of activities designed to promote an awareness and understanding of the nature and origin of the evidence. These large apes are spotted mostly in forested regions with abundant protein sources, deer in particular. They consistently maintain low population levels in those areas, even where the protein sources could support dramatically larger numbers of them. Consequently, they have never become an ongoing nuisance to human communities or human livestock. Unlike gorillas and chimps, their family/groupings are small and mobile, making it very difficult for modern humans to hunt them. Their impact on the land is so subtle that it takes a trained eye to even notice it. They can operate nocturnally, sometimes close to rural communities of humans, and be only occasionally seen, heard, or detected. There are many more things we have learned over the years from credible witnesses. That learning process will continue in the field as well as online. The observations provided by the public have provided much insight with respect to locations and behavior. We expect that humans will continue to have brief sightings of these animals, and we hope those people will continue to report their sightings to us. Ace, I'm so glad you are on the show tonight, and welcome. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself personally?
Well, what would y'all like to know is the best question.
Well, when was your first experience that led you to this field?
I'd have to say I was 8, and I was actually deep in the swamps of Louisiana when we came across a strange set of footprints. And I'm not exactly a small person. I'm a little over 6 foot tall, almost 250 pounds. I wear a 12 and a boot. At that time, I was probably wearing 9s or 10s, and it dwarfed my foot. So, I mean, it had to be a monster. But ever since then, I have been interested in the subject of the strange and unusual, commonly called cryptozoology to science and things like that.
That's awesome. So were you guys out hunting or camping, or were you just poking around the swamp, or how exactly did you find the track?
Gator season.
Oh, nice.
Gator season. So we had 150 tags left to fill out, and we almost had a full boat. We were heading to get some of the last lines, and we had noticed some of them were down and ripped. On average, our lines are 1,000-pound test with a metal braid in them, so they don't break easy. And they almost looked ripped. So we started poking around, looking for poachers, things like that, see if anybody was stealing the gators. And that's when we came across the footprint. There was 3 of them, and then it went into the water.
Oh, wow. So the tracks went into the water, or the lines?
The track.
Wow. So do you think they were trying to keep you guys from hunting the gators? Were they trying to save them for, their own meals, or how exactly? I don't know. It's hard to figure out what they're doing. What do you think they were doing?
In all honesty, I have no clue. My granddaddy said he had never seen anything like it before, but he had seen strange eyes shine and things like that. I mean, when you grow up in the swamps of Louisiana, you never know what you're going to come across.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I haven't been down there as far as the swamps in Louisiana. Like, I've always wanted to visit there, and like I said before, I'm from Arkansas. I've been to Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, so many different places, but I still haven't made it to Louisiana for Mardi Gras or anything like that. And I hear about people who hunt and eat alligators, and they say it tastes like chicken. Does it really taste like chicken, or is there a certain different taste to that?
Have you ever eaten frog leg?
No, I want to try that too.
Well, it has a very, very gamey taste.
Okay.
If it's prepared correctly, it can be really, really good. But if it's prepared wrong, it's like taking a bite out of a tire.
Yeah. Yeah, I've tried, I've gone hunting with some of my exes and stuff, and we'd go hunting for grouse, which were basically like wild chickens. And they always go in couples, so we'd always try to get both of them, but it's really hard to get the second one. But they do have that gamey taste, but like you said, if you cook it right, it's like the most amazing food that you've ever had. The same with like elk and deer, it's got that gamey taste. If you put some like pork and, I had this pork jalapeno elk burger once, and it was the most amazing thing I'd ever put in my mouth. But I've always wanted to try frog legs and gator. But one of my exes, we lived by a place that, specialized in frog legs. And I was like, I want to go there. I want to try frog legs. And he was just not down for it. So hopefully someday I'll be able to partake of such things. And I was into that show, what is it? Swamp something.
Swamp People.
Yeah, Swamp People. And, they hunt the gators and stuff and sell them for a really great price, to people as far as making money for their families, and I just always wonder, like, what do they taste like? So that's intriguing. A little gamey, but you got to cook it just right.
Yes, ma'am.
So was finding this track of the Bigfoot your first paranormal experience, or did you have any paranormal experiences before that?
Well, growing up in Louisiana, as you know, there's a lot of a dark atmosphere. As in, if you've ever been in old insane asylums or anything like that, the very dark feeling that you get the minute you step into New Orleans, Louisiana, it's just like that no matter where you go. I mean, there's a voodoo section, everything like that. So I've always been around what most people would call paranormal or the dark side of things, per se.
Mm-hmm.
But as that was my first real thing that I could explain.
Yeah. My first experience with Bigfoot was doing security up in Rico, Colorado, and we were securing a mine up there because we had tanks up there. The people that were working on the mine were trying to get the horrible toxic fluids out of there before it seeped into any of the creeks or rivers. And so people would go up there and target practice and such, and kids would go up and play on the excavators and shoot at the tanks and things like that. So they needed security. So we went up and would do night security while people weren't working. And you'd hear really weird, strange noises, echoes and such, but then large boulders started to be thrown down the mountainside. Not just, not a deer or a bear or something walking along and accidentally knocking it down. Like, these things were actually thrown down the mountain. So this, I don't think it was last year, it was the year before. We went to Rico, Colorado to investigate the Enterprise Bar and Grill because I have a paranormal team called Four Corners Paranormal Investigations. And so we investigated there that night, and I was telling the crew, I want to go up tomorrow and see if I can find any Bigfoot tracks or anything like that up by the mine. And so we did, and I'm going over to find tracks, and I have Mia, our medium, and Richard, one of our teammates, and I also had Jamie with us, and they're all looking for stones because there's these beautiful stones with like silver lines within it, and they're looking for gold nuggets or whatever else they can find, and I'm looking for Bigfoot tracks. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Stay on track. But I did end up finding some. Unfortunately, I didn't have any plaster cast or anything in my kit, but I was able to put my foot beside the track and take pictures of it, and also put like a stone at the toe and a stone at the base of it so you can actually like see the beginning and end of the track. And it was on like a gravelly sort of roadway that they had built for getting wood and things like that, but you could still see the impression of it in there. I want to go back and, actually get some casts of the foot. That would be so cool. But I was like, yes, I found some Bigfoot tracks, because nobody's walking around there in the middle of winter with bare feet. It's a Bigfoot, and it's very protective of its home there, and didn't want us there. It wasn't used to somebody being there at night, used to people being there during the day. We had actually gone back down the mountain, back to the Enterprise Bar and Grill to have lunch, and there was a mother and daughter there, and they were talking about how they go on their back porch every morning. It's kind of like their ritual. They'll drink coffee together and just gaze upon the mountain with the aspens and their changing colors and such. And all of a sudden, in this opening within these aspen trees, they saw not only a Bigfoot, but an albino Bigfoot walk across this opening in the aspen trees and disappear. And there's other sightings like that from other people in the town, and this was on the opposite side of the mine. The mine is on this mountain on this side, but on the opposite side, they had sighted it over there.
Well, one thing we have learned to discover, Bigfoot, as you say, Sasquatch, as we would say, they do change colors with the season. As in, what would be a better camouflage in the mountains of Colorado in the winter? A white coat or a brown coat?
Yeah.
So you also have to think of it like that.
Yeah. There wasn't snowfall yet, really. It was the beginning of winter. I have to look back in my pictures. We have the changing of the leaf color and everything, so it's fall. Winter is soon to come, and that's why we went up. We didn't want to go up during the snowy season because the roads are pretty treacherous, and we could get into an accident, and we try to keep ourselves out of harm's way. But I could see that happening. But with any sort of creature or reptile or anything, there's always an albino out there. And when they told me it was a white one, I was just like, holy shnikes, like, I've never heard of an albino Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So that really surprised me. I was really intrigued, and I want to go back and poke around, but at the same time, there's that fear of Bigfoot attack or Sasquatch attack or whatever. But I could see that, like the coat changing. I don't know.
Well, the nicest way I can put this, I do not strongly recommend it. I've been with the organization well over 4 years. I've been out on the hunts. I've been out on certain teams when we went out looking for evidence. They get mean when you get in their territory, and some of them have a territory bigger than 100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to realize that there can be up to 4 in that 100 miles, a small family. Anywhere from 1 to 6 would be the best way to look at it. It's about like humans. Humans can have twins. And how long would you want to stay with your parents instead of venturing out on your own? Especially when you're out in the woods like that. You want to stay as long as you can to learn.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I have, watched different things like the Haunting in the Woods or different things like that, and people, especially females, when the males go out, there's fear of an attack. When one does spot them, the hair raises up, something's watching you, and then they'll make themselves known as far as like banging on the trees or growling or even showing themselves to try to scare you out of their territory.
Exactly.
What ways have you seen that they try to communicate or try to scare someone away?
I have seen as much as screaming, rocks being thrown. I've seen scratches down vehicles. But other than that, I haven't really seen much. I haven't experienced it much. as you heard earlier, I'm a big guy. It's kind of hard to hide in the woods.
Yeah. Well, and there's these different things that people talk about as far as trees being put into like some sort of arch or whatever, or a teepee being built, or like a little nest within bushes or something like that. Has your team experienced things like that or found things like that and know that it is Bigfoot, being that it's so high up, like there's nothing else that could really bend or twist these things as such?
Yes, we have, and I actually do have some pictures. I'd be more than happy to send some of those, but as for that, it's not really one that you can really talk about. It's more of a thing you have to see or experience it in person, see the pictures of it. Because, I mean, who the hell's going to believe you? Man, I just found this weird teepee-looking thing in the middle of the woods. I mean, go to one of your friends and say that. They're going to look at you like you're insane. But if you have pictures to prove it, it's much more believable.
Yeah, and it is hard, even with the paranormal and such, being it's other than normal. A lot of people aren't open-minded, and they don't believe it, and they do look at you as if you're crazy. Like, I've experienced paranormal as far back as I can remember, and as a young kid, I'd tell anybody and everybody, like, what I had experienced, and even at that age, people are looking at you like you're crazy, so you learn to keep these things to yourself and only tell people that you know or trust, and it kind of makes it hard to get that word out there. And so
Right.
I put it as, I stayed in the paranormal closet until 2012 when Dylan Redwine went missing in our community. He was a friend of my oldest daughter's. She'd go to this after-school church program with him and such, and him and his mom moved to Colorado Springs, and he was sent back against his own will to see his dad for Thanksgiving break, and the night he arrived, his dad had murdered him. Luckily, this last year, they finally arrested him and put him in jail, and he's going to trial. It was supposed to be on my birthday, but they moved it to February, so he's going to go to trial for that, thank God. But that brought me out of my paranormal closet, because I'm like, this isn't just about me. Like, I want to be able to go out and help other people, and help this mother. Like, I'm holding my little newborn son in my arms and looking out into the cold of the winter and hoping this kid is okay. He's being hidden out like his dad had done many times before. He'd take the kids and hide them somewhere to where the mother couldn't find them, and I was just hoping that, that's what had happened. He's being hid out somewhere, but in the back of my head, I knew he was gone, he was dead, and his dad had done something with him, and he did. He had actually killed him, but that's what brought me out, and I didn't care what anybody thought anymore, and I was just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to help people on this side and the other, and it just kind of grew and progressed from there, and, we're helping all kinds of people now, but yeah, it was pretty sad and traumatic, and I actually saw my first alien orb at that point. That was pretty interesting, and we might talk about that later.
Well,
so, go
that's
ahead.
That's a topic I don't particularly prefer to discuss due to certain things, per se, due to the fact I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I'm used to strange stuff in the sky. Shooting stars, random airplanes, things like that. So that's one I never really paid much attention to. So I really don't have much to talk about with that.
Yeah, I remember growing up, after my mom passed away, my dad had abandoned us at our grandparents' house, and then my aunt and uncle came and got us, and then my dad came back into the picture, and I remember we were doing this yard sale, and he brought over, like, he would read a very thick book within, 30 minutes, and I'm like, are you serious? You, already finished that book? But he was really fast at it, and he had brought a paranormal book about aliens, UFOs, and beyond, and I took it out of the pile, and I was like, I want this for myself. He had always told stories, but I had never experienced it, but I trusted and believed in him and kind of had that knowing that there was something like that out there. Until I did finally experience it on my own. It was pretty interesting. But we'll move on from that since you don't want to talk about it. So how did you come across BFRO?
That's actually an interesting story. I met some guys at a bar.
That's how all the good stories start.
Right. But it wasn't particularly for a night of drinking. We had actually had a person go missing, and we were part of the search team. And that was in mountains of Tennessee, late December of 2016. And some of the guys I had met were professional trackers, and they were telling stories. Shortly after, I told mine of growing up, everything I had run across, things like that. And so they introduced me to some people. And shortly after that, I joined the BFRO. I started off just as a member, and I worked my way up to running the pages and everything like that. I'm actually the one, I filter through most of the reports. I check all the emails, things like that. So I see a side of it that most people don't normally see. I get to see all the pictures of the sightings. I get to help organize where the guys go, things like that.
So you were talking about, growing up and all the things you had experienced through your life. Can you kind of fill us in on that as far as what you had experienced through your life that brought you to that point?
Well, like y'all heard me say earlier, I grew up in New Orleans, right outside of the swamps, a little bit away from Jeanerette. So I was used to hearing noises, everything like that. You'd already heard me talk about the footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so shortly after that, we moved. And we were traveling for 5 years. And throughout that time, I had ran across things I didn't even know about. That's when I first started studying crypto. Like I said earlier, I apologize. I can't talk.
Oh, no worries.
That's when I started studying cryptozoology, delving more into the paranormal, the darker things of life that people don't exactly talk about. Reading anything there possibly was to read, ranging from werewolves to skinwalkers, Sasquatch, all the way up to the Loch Ness Monster. So it was probably about 2 years later, and I was in Michigan. And if you've ever studied any of the paranormal of Michigan, you'll know about the Wendigo. And that's another one that scares me. Because we were on the lake, out in the Great Lakes. I can't exactly remember which one. Probably about 200-300 feet away from the bay. And we start noticing something on the bank. So we went back inside, got the spotlight, and it was a creature I couldn't explain. Have you ever looked into the Wendigo by chance?
I haven't, but I've actually heard people mention it. Can you fill us in a bit about it?
The Wendigo is it's a northern version of the skinwalker, except it's not exactly a shapeshifter. It's more of, head of a wolf, body of a Sasquatch, extremely long arms, and it has antlers like an elk. Long tail. Anything basically you look into, it's all your fears put into one. And growing up with Native American traditions, you hear about the Baba Yaga, the Wendigo, the Skinwalker. It's the stuff of your nightmares. They always tell you, stay away. Well, that time it found us and it started throwing rocks at the boat. So we get the spotlight out, we start spotlighting it, and next thing we know, just like a cloud, it disappears. I mean, it's just there one second, gone the next.
So was it in the water?
No, it was standing on the shore.
Nice. And it just went up in the mist and disappeared.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. So do they have any idea where this thing originated from? Is it native lore? Is it something else?
Native lore is the best way I can explain it.
It's very interesting. Did you guys like have the hair raised, get goosebumps, all kinds of stuff like that, or what was your experience?
Chills. Hair raised. You don't remember how to speak. And that wasn't one me and my grandfather particularly discussed after it happened.
And that is hard, you know. A lot of people say that they go through Bigfoot or Sasquatch episodes or UFO or alien or whatever. You all experienced it together, but then nobody wants to talk about it. And I don't know if it's because they don't want to give it any energy by speaking about it, or if they're just scared, or what exactly is going on there. What do you think it was with your family?
My great-great-grandfather was a medicine man. As long as I can remember, the darkness has always followed, being skinwalkers, Sasquatch, Baba Yaga, aliens per se, if you want to look at it that way, mysterious things going missing, poltergeist. No matter where we went, we always found something dark.
When I was a baby, I had gotten a really bad episode of thrush, and no matter what medicine or anything that they had given me, nothing was helping. And my mom was a German Cherokee, so she was fair-skinned with blue eyes, dark hair, blue-eyed Cherokee, and she ended up taking me to a medicine man, and my dad, of course, had to stay in the car. My mom was allowed to go in. And I don't know if she personally knew this guy or what, but took me in there. Supposedly he had blown in my mouth. Some people say they spit in your mouth, which I hope not, because spit really disgusts me. But I came out and it was gone. And my dad was just awestruck and amazed. The first paranormal experience he had witnessed was after being with my mom and shortly after I was born. He saw a man in coveralls going up a ladder, which wasn't even there, into the attic. But yeah, he was just totally amazed and awestruck. What is the origin of your grandfather being a medicine man? Like what
It's
tribe?
been in our family. We were Cherokee. That's honestly all I really know about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know something caused a fight with the tribe, and my family left. And since then, we've never looked back.
Yeah, it's been difficult with our family because, like I said, my mother had been killed by a drunk driver when I was 5, almost 6. And, you know, all of the spiritualism as far as she was able to talk to the dead and see the dead. She actually knew when she was going to die and she wrote a letter to my grandpa asking him to help her plan her funeral. She was in Colorado at that point. They had just gone to Mesa Verde. She went down into one of the kivas and came back up, and my dad said she was white as a sheet, and after that point she felt like every car on the road was after her. Well, when she got back home, we had stayed at our granny and grandpa's house while she was gone. When she got back, her and my grandpa really got into it, and he's telling her, you should never talk like this, like things like this should never be said. And she's like, no, Dad, I'm serious. This is going to happen. I know exactly how and when it's going to happen, and I need you to help me plan my funeral because I want it a specific way. And so, finally he, put his walls down and decided to listen to her and help her. And so her funeral was the way she wanted it. She was hit by a drunk driver, which immediately put her into brain damage. She woke back up, but she just wasn't there. She couldn't talk. She could look around, and all they said that was on her face was fear because she didn't know anybody, didn't know where she was, what was going on. And eventually they ended up pulling the plug, but they were able to, give her last wishes, give her the ceremony and the funeral and the last rites that she had wanted. So that was pretty awesome. But my dad, all the paranormal experiences I've had, even before I started Four Corners Paranormal, I tell him about all my experiences and things that happened to me. And he's like, you need to quit doing that stuff because, your mom was like that and look at where she's at. She's dead now. Do you want that for yourself? And I'm like, I can't help what's happening to me. I can't help what I see or what I feel or what I see for people. Like, it just happens. I'm not out looking for it. Now I am, out there trying to help other people. But, he's like, just quit doing that because you're going to end up like your mom, which I don't believe. I've made a lot of different decisions than she has, but I mean, it can be pretty trippy even for, family members. Her dad, he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to acknowledge or accept the fact that she was going to die, but it did happen. And as far as our great grandpa, he wasn't a medicine man. Like, that'd be totally awesome and epic. He was an Indian outlaw, and he came home and beat my grandma for the last time. She ended up shooting him and then taking off in a wagon with all her kids, and they ended up in Pettigrew, Arkansas, where my granny lived until the day she died. It'd be more cool, I think, if he was a medicine man, but no, he was just an Indian outlaw, and he ended up getting shot by his old lady and dying out by a tree somewhere, I guess. Never to hurt her again.
I guess that's just a hell of a way to go then, ain't it?
Yeah, I think it's just, the way you do decide to live and decisions that you do make, and he decided to live that sort of life, so that was his downfall. My great granny decided to move on from that and get away from it and protect her kids, and I'm glad she did, because who knows where or if I'd be today.
Right.
So did your family talk a lot about your native heritage, your grandpa being a medicine man? Did they really get into it, or did they keep it hush-hush like the rest of the stuff?
Everything was very hush-hush because when people look at you and they know what your family was into, as in, my grandfather was a very religious man. My actual great-grandfather, not the medicine man, as you know what I'm saying. They were very, very religious is the best way I can put it. And then there's me. I follow paganism and things like that. We just keep religion on a very, very hush-hush. They don't appreciate everything that I'm into. They still follow some native heritage. And they believe that one of these days, one of the things that I talk about is most likely going to be the end of me. As in, when I get home tonight, as in I am not talking to you from my house. I drove probably 40 minutes away from where I live and parked at a truck stop to talk to you. Mainly because I don't want this type of karma in my house. And when I get home, I will salt my doors, say prayers, and make sure I will be all right tonight.
Well, that's a good idea.
Because as you know, when you talk about this kind of stuff, it draws that darkness towards you.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, like a lot of people believe if you do talk about it, it gives it some sort of energy, something to feed upon, because, you know, you have these thoughts in your head, the fear in your subconscious, or, you know, your kids being afraid. Crypto Dan's trying to call me. He's probably got a question or something to say, but I can't answer calls during the show. But I think that's a wise decision to do such things away from the home and then, you know, protect your home when you get there. That's a great idea.
Right. As in, at my shop where I work, I'm the owner of it, but I constantly keep an altar set up for Navajo, Cherokee, Blackfoot, etc., 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 to appease everything that would be there.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also have my religious altar to make sure none of that follows me. As in, if I was to talk about the Banshee or Hellhounds or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, you're not a religious person. On my mom's side, it was like backwoods Baptist, and, you know, I believe she was into white magic. There was actually books that we found, according to such, after she had passed, that would tell us that she was into that sort of thing. But my granny and grandpa were on the Baptist, old school Baptist side, which is a lot different than other Baptist churches that I've been to, way different. And then on my dad's side, it's LDS all the way back to, like, original Irishmen that had come over from Ireland. You know, their kids became LDS. I remember a story about my great uncle or great, I think it was my great grandpa on my dad's side, who him and his wife decided to break a hole into a frozen lake and get baptized on Valentine's Day. And that's how devout they were in that. And my grandma Nova, she ended up going on a mission. She was from Canada. She went on a mission to Hawaii and ended up marrying my grandpa, who is from Kentucky. How they met, I have no idea. But there is that religious background. And when my mother was killed and my dad left us, our aunt and uncle came and got us, which my uncle was my dad's brother. And they were LDS. Before that point, as a kid, it's really weird because most kids are going out, eating candy, having fun, doing all kinds of other things. I was going and to every church that I could, just trying to find what felt right. Even as an adult, when I went into the Marine Corps, you have every church at your disposal, and that's after being LDS until I think I was 15 when I decided not to do it anymore. But yeah, reaching out to every church, finding out what they had, and I have a hard time with organized religion. I don't believe in people judging each other because that's really not our place. So I like to find my own church and take little pieces that I agree with from every religion that I've partaken in and applying it to my life. And there's so much stuff that I am learning as far as like stones and I don't know. Like you're saying, you have this thing set up at home for different things. One is for Navajo and all these other things, and the other one is more religious. That's pretty interesting.
More of the Celtic side of things, if that explains much.
So
or
Trip
would
is...
you like to
go
discuss
ahead.
that?
Well, you can tell us a little bit more about it if you'd like.
Well, the Celtic side of things is where a lot of your folklore comes from. The gods, goddesses, the demonic entities, things like that. Then there's the Navajo, which appeases the certain spirits or things like that. As in, even some of our planets are named after that, looking into Venus and things like that.
Nice.
So that's the reason I keep that set up.
Well, Trip in the chat room is asking, so what would Ace like to talk to us about? What would he like us to take away from this interview?
That's actually a really good question. I didn't think of that one. Most of the time when I have to sit in on discussions like this, it's just little bits of everything.
Well, it is hard to pinpoint it to just one thing, and, the paranormal is a very broad spectrum. But let's go back to your stories as far as growing up, your paranormal experiences, and what led you to this path. So after the Wendigo, what was your next paranormal experience?
Well, actually, that would have been the skinwalker experiences.
And where were you when this happened?
Which one was that? That was the first Texas experience.
Yeah.
That was the first Texas experience. And that was being chased down the interstate by something I've still never placed to this day.
So can you take us from the beginning of that story? Like, how did you come upon it and what followed?
It's actually about like your story. Broke down vehicle on the side of the interstate. Your grandfather was a nice man. We stopped to try to help. Nobody was there. So we drove off, and walking up the side of the road, there was a blonde woman. So we stopped to see if the vehicle was hers. And she just starts screaming. The eyes turned blood red, and she started running at the vehicle. We lock the doors and go to leave, and she starts shaking.
Shaking? Like vibrating or?
Chasing. Right.
Huh?
Right. But if you'll excuse me for 1 minute, I'm going to have to put you on hold.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so Ace is on hold for just a second, and we did bring him in from the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization to talk about Bigfoot, but there was a lot more behind what he wanted to talk about tonight besides just Bigfoot. He's had many pretty awesome experiences, and not only Bigfoot, but also with skinwalkers and other, like he said, the Wendigo, other paranormal or cryptid experiences. So what I like to do is start from the beginning. I want to know where you come from and what your experiences are and what led you here. And Ace is a really cool guy. Like I was saying in our Facebook Live, none of his team members wanted to come out and speak with us unless they had some sort of monetary compensation. To me, having free advertisement is actually a wonderful compensation because it is so expensive. I've ran several different businesses in my day, including Four Corners Paranormal Investigations, and there's so much you have to pay for. So I understand needing the compensation, but at the same time, free advertisement is priceless. Yes, Ronald is saying, rolling eyes, Sasquatch, Tessa, also Yeti. I think they're relatives. Trip, like I was saying, I tried to get other people from the org, and they were not willing to come. And Ace is team player. He's ready to go to bat, and he's been working with these guys for quite a while. So he's been honorable and graceful enough to join us tonight for this. And I'm very grateful, and I'm excited to hear about his Bigfoot experiences. Yeti, I believe, is different from Sasquatch just because, like what Ace was saying earlier, it all depends on your environment, and we find that with different other creatures in nature. Different things have different attributes due to where they live. The Yeti, being in the mountains overseas, has a white coat because he is in a mountainous environment. And over here in Rico... Oh, go ahead.
I hate to interrupt. I'm actually going to have to get off of here. The phone call was my wife, and I'm going to have to go home and take her to the hospital.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I hope everything's okay.
She's 8.5 months pregnant, and we think her water just broke.
Oh, my goodness. Well, congratulations, and love and light to you and prayers, and keep me posted and let me know what happens and that everything's okay. I do hope that everything turns out great and you have a healthy little baby.
Yes, ma'am, I will. And since I had to end this interview short, if you want, I don't care to call you back when I get some more time, get you the rest of the story, and for your next podcast, I'd be more than happy to come back.
No worries. It'd be so great to have you back and learn more about you and your experiences and what brought you to this field and what experiences you've had in the field so far after helping these guys and helping to find this missing person.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank y'all, and have a good night.
You too. Love and light and prayers to you, and let your old lady know that we're thinking about her and we got prayers out to her.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Have a good night, Ace. Drive safe.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that was a surprise and completely unexpected. And we have about 4 more minutes before we go to break. And I'm like, where do we go from here? And Caden in the chat room is saying, woo, ghost story night. Let's tell ghost stories. If you guys want to call in, like I said, right now we only have 53 minutes left. And Ace was interesting, and I always love accents from anywhere. And I think it's because I originally had an accent and then was forced to kind of lose it because people were really picking on me and beating me up over it in Miami, Florida. I don't understand it, but I guess having an outsider is uncomfortable for some people. I love diversity and different people, different experiences, and what they've learned through their life. Sorry to jinx it. You didn't jinx it, Trip. I love you, and I'm glad you're here, and I understand your frustration when it comes to getting to the point, but we have 3 hours in a show, so you got to kind of learn to kill time and, like I said, talk about people's origins. Where did you come from? What was your first paranormal experience? Robert's saying, crikey. We're going to fill up this show, Kit Kat. I want to hear from all you guys. I want to hear where you came from, your ghost stories or your paranormal experiences. Because I love to hear it. I love to feel like I'm not alone. And that's what, kept me here at SOR, Spaced Out Radio, what I love to refer to as SOR Asylum here in Spreaker, because you guys are like my family, and I know I'm crazy. I worked long and hard to be this crazy, and everybody's a little crazy, and I love everybody's little quirks, and humor is a big thing to me. Robert says, Wendigo, about 2:30 p.m., where'd they go? To the pub. Yeah, so we have 1 minute before we go to break. So I want to give you guys the number, 970-335-9596. That's 970-335-9596. I want you guys to call in with your ghost stories. I want to hear all the creepy, kooky stuff that's happened to you, whether it's ghosts, aliens, cryptid, whatever the heck has happened in your life that has made your hair stand up and make you think twice about what we've been taught in this world we're in today. It's so weird. We live in a weird place in a weird time, but I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' ghost stories. And if you don't call in with your ghost stories, you're just going to have to listen to all my shenanigans all over again, starting with my first ghost story. And I might even look some up online because there's a lot of good stuff out there. But you guys call in next hour, 1-970-335-9596. We're going to share our ghost stories after these messages.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime, alien and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together we own the night.
Hey, guess what? You can now get your brand new Spaced Out Radio swag at spacedoutradio.com. We've brought the store back with all new items for you to pick out and pick up for yourself, your family, or friends. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, we got it all. All you have to do is head to our website and click on Store. Choose what you want and it's shipped to you. The Spaced Out Radio store is right there for you. Come shop with us at spacedoutradio.com. Then we can own the night together.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
If you're heading to Vancouver, make sure you stop by the official bar of Spaced Out Radio, the Moose Vancouver. It's the place to party in YVR. At the corner of Nelson and Granville, the Moose Vancouver is always up to speed with a kitchen staff that serves great food. All food on the menu, $6.95 to $8.95. There's a reason the Moose Vancouver is recognized as one of the hottest spots on the West Coast. Get your horns up for the Moose Vancouver.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You can follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT, on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio, and our website is spacedoutradio.com.
Weird, because I wanted to do like ghost stories tomorrow night.
Weekend host Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Hear the sound again, voices dancing in
Hey guys, welcome back. Well, that was very crazy. We had our guest, Ace Montgomery, have to bow out because his wife, 8 months pregnant, her water broke and he had to go pick her up and take her to the hospital. But we have people calling in to share their paranormal UFO or ghost stories, and our first caller is Caden. Hey Caden, welcome.
Hey Tessa, thanks for having me on.
No worries. Thanks for calling in. So great to have you guys listening and calling in with these things. When we have things like this happen, and like I said, I wanted to do ghost stories, the next coming Sundays, just because Halloween's coming up and I love the spooky stuff, and maybe we could get somebody else in here who specializes in such things. But I can't wait to hear you share your story. What do you got going on?
Well, I figured that, I can... we've done a couple of investigations since the last time we talked, and I figured I'd tell you about one of our private clients we did a couple of weeks ago. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome.
So, I've on my paranormal team, we strictly deal with spirits and entities, and I've dealt with, the Wendigo at Monroe. But I finally got my first alien case, and I was pretty freaking excited about it. So we have this private client. They get in contact with us, and they're saying a lot of stuff going on. The girlfriend has been having issues with getting bite marks, scratches, the bed shaking, the whole house shakes. The boyfriend sees the girlfriend's face morph. Like, it was just a bunch of stuff. So, like, okay. So we have to drive 5 hours, and we get there, and I'm interviewing while they're walking around. Long story short, they ended up, it was like a triple threat's what I called it. She had a relative of hers, a deceased relative, that was hanging around the house and wasn't really pleased with the lifestyle that she was living. And she had an entity that was there that we're pretty sure we know what it was. And then the boyfriend, come to find out, has a long line of alien abduction in his family. So me and Alyssa are walking around, and I brought out my dowsing rods that I just made, and I was pretty excited I was going to get to use them. Established that they're actually sitting on top of one of the ley lines that runs through that area. And Alyssa goes in astral, and she's trying to locate, see what all's going on there. And they have it's not a portal. It's almost a vortex. I mean, it's huge, like huge, huge, huge. And, things are just coming in and out, in and out, in and out. And she ends up getting knocked on her butt because as soon as she even got close to it, she had about 5 entities come straight at her. And she had to back out.
All right. Could feel better.
What? Oh, okay. Oh. Oh, no, you're fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. It happens. So when she gets back out and she's telling us everything that's going on, and I go inside of the house and I'm starting to gather some more equipment, and then Shannon comes in behind me and they go to the bedroom, and then all I hear is my name being called, and I walk in there, and in the mirror that's in their room, it's like glowing cat eyes almost. Mind you, they don't own a cat, and this is in the mirror. It's not behind us. It's not a reflection. They have the glowing eyes, and I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty weird. So I break out the SLS, and full-body apparition shows up. And then at that exact moment, right behind our heads, you hear this just dark, or not dark, like low and loud growl. Like, I mean, it was, I don't know. It was almost like a really big dog that's mad. That kind of growl, like, don't mess with me growl. It was that kind of growl. It's been a while since I've heard one of those. But yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Where was this?
This is kind of, it's a little outside of Jackson, Mississippi.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. But we got them all situated and took care of, and we called in some of our friends on the astral team to help. So they helped get that situation fixed really fast.
Well, that's good. At my granny's house in Pettigrew, Arkansas, my siblings, I didn't see it, but my siblings in the room next to mine had seen red eyes through their window on a nightly basis for a while, and I don't know what that is. A lot of times people say when they see a Bigfoot or whatever, its eyes look red when it's looking through the window. But these were, like you said, glowing eyes, look like cat eyes, and I don't know if it's demonic or what. What do you think that was?
I think that it's going to be one of the races that we're dealing with, one of the alien races, because he described exactly the way that he described them and the way that their eyes were was exactly what we seen. You know, he said that they were kind of, it was like a mix between a cat or like lizard eyes, you know, they have the slanted pupils. It was like that, because, I mean, you could sit there and make them out. You couldn't see nothing else but the eyes. It was pretty cool, not gonna lie. I kind of got a little giddy, was like, whoa, really? Okay. That was cool. First time I've ever seen that.
Yeah, that's pretty strange. What else you got?
Let's see. Nothing's really happened to me here lately. We've done a few cases here and there, and I think, let's see, the last one that we just did, it was just kind of an in and out investigation. Alyssa ended up getting shoved into a wall pretty hard. We were just walking around, not even doing anything. Like, we just got there, and I was fixing to pull out paperwork and start paperwork, and she went to go try to find the bathroom, and then I hear a thud, and she's like, well, okay, then. I'm like, what? And she's like, oh, I just got shoved. I'm like, oh, okay. Guess they're happy that we're here.
Yeah. Shoving happy.
Right? Like, geez, come on. Okay. You could at least wait until I had something.
Right. It is hard, doing the paranormal field, because no matter how much you protect yourself or whatnot, things can follow you home. Sometimes they stay for a little bit. Sometimes they stay for an extended time. Was this in your guys' house, or was this a different location you were investigating?
No, this was just a different location. Like, we just got bored, and one of our friends had been calling us saying that she thought she had something in our house. So we had free night, and we're like, okay, we'll come over. And we went over, and we just bought the basics and was talking, and she went to go to the bathroom and just got shoved. I looked at my friend, I was like, I'm going to say you got something in your house. It ended up being just it ended up just being a trickster. It liked to play jokes, and it wasn't necessarily trying to be mean, but it was like letting us know that it was there. Let's ended up communicating with him, and once he calmed down and knew that we weren't there to make him leave, because she didn't want him gone. She just wanted to understand who was there and why they were there. And once he understood that, then he was fine. He calmed down. Yeah.
And I keep staying on mute.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. You can hear me, but nobody else could.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, I was just saying I'm grateful for you guys and for what you guys are doing to help everybody out there.
Absolutely. We all have to stick together in this field, that's for sure.
Definitely. Did you have anything else to share?
Not at the moment. I'll turn it over to the other ones that called in.
Awesome. Thank you so much for calling in, Caden. It was awesome hearing your new experiences. And you guys stay safe and protected out there.
Absolutely. If I think of anything else and nobody else calls in, I'll call back.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And give my love to Alyssa.
I sure will.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Next we have Christopher.
Hello.
Hey.
I wanted to share a Halloween story. It's
Nice.
about a local legend in my city.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, I'm going to embellish it some because it's kind of uninteresting by itself. I've been working on it for a while. There's Halloween, so... Alright. I've been researching Constitution Avenue here in Allentown. There's this old house up the way there. Every time I walk there, I get bad vibes. The energy is just really bad. It's like you're going to get sick. But one evening, I learned in dreams about the place. The place has at night has almost no light except for this one light bulb that lights up the backyard. All the rest just forest. And this house is abandoned except for an old man. It's completely white, no, like an albino. I dream and I walk up to his house and I knock on the door because I hear something. And I walk in there. It's completely pitch black except for a green light. Green light's coming from the basement. And I keep going towards the basement, and these bad vibes keep coming stronger and stronger. And I end up running towards the basement. And my ears keep ringing. When I go into the basement, the light keeps getting brighter until I get to this elevator. Elevator takes me down like 2 or 3 floors. And then I see an abandoned, like, big room. There's almost nothing there at first. Then you see all these stray cats, like zombies. And they all make this light from their eyes, and it brightens up the room. And I keep getting chased. And I wanted to find this albino. And first going through it, it was almost like a maze because all the chairs are set up in a way that you can't get away from the cat. Seems like he knew I was coming. And the green light engulfs me, thinking I was about ready to get bitten and become a zombie myself. Mm-hmm. And I keep running. And in a dream, I keep finding more cats trying to chase me. And I slammed one of the bathroom door behind me, thinking it was a bathroom. But it was like a cleaning room. Like like a funeral home embalming room. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's where he experimented on these cats. And then I see him working on a cat, trying to make him into a zombie. And I was looking at him straight in the eye. And I learned he couldn't speak except grunt. Because he lost his soul. And when I looked at him, I screamed. And I tried to run. And the whole bathroom was locked. And I had to go find another door. And it led up to a stairway. And it was total darkness, which was kind of a relief. No green eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went up to the top there, I was in this kitchen. And there was big old animal with green eyes that I couldn't describe it. He chased me. I started taking a butcher knife and I was trying to hack at it. So I'm going to kill it, make it leave me alone. Instead, its blood was green and it glowed. And I kept running out of his house. And I couldn't believe it. It's like it kept trying to go after me even though he was dead. And I kept going up. It was like going up 3 or 4 flights of stairs just to get out. And by the end, he was about ready. The cat was about ready to go after me to a point, bite me, turn me into a zombie. And I saw that people were walking by, and they helped me escape. It was like I had claw marks throughout my body, and I was so frightened that this story I remember for years to come. The end.
The end. That was a great story/dream. So, was it like it started off as a true event, but then you had a dream about it afterwards that built upon that?
Yeah, I was walking through that area, and and what was interesting, I asked about the area. They mentioned if somebody got beheaded at one of the trees, by one of the trees in the walkway. And it's like Bill John, and I got nightmares from it. And I still remember the nightmares.
Well, I'm sorry you had nightmares, but sometimes they can be fun. I know I hated them as a kid,
fun.
But as an adult, it's kind of somewhat entertaining, especially when you learn to control certain things.
Now as an adult, I find it entertaining. I also, like during blood time, I was this cat guy, and I found treasure in a 5-story house, things like that.
Wow.
Nightmares are pretty cool now as an adult, but as a kid, it scared me.
Well, thanks so much for...
It's like...
Oh, go ahead.
It's like I was in this 5-story house. When I was up in the 5th floor, I walked in this room, and I saw this glow-in-the-dark stuff. And the vibration in my ears was so bad, I actually woke up screaming from a dream.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I sometimes hear the sounds of the dreams right after I wake up. That's kind of creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks so much for calling in and sharing your story, Christopher. It was awesome to hear it, and it was a great story for this time of year. Did you have anything else you wanted to share?
I think I'm going to start writing these kind of stories. It seems I'm good at it.
Well, I think that'd be a good idea. I think you should follow that goal and run with it. Just don't run with your pen.
Have a good night, and don't let things creep you out.
I surely won't. You have a good night too, Christopher, and thanks so much again for calling in.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Next we have BTO. How's it going?
How you doing, Tessa?
Good. It's
Everything
good to
good?
hear from you. Yeah. I can see you.
All
Nobody
right.
else can, I don't think.
Well, forget about it. Don't tell anyone.
I won't tell.
Christopher Bubbles, he did right. He put it on my room, so I always encourage him to write. So that's something that he should do. You know, he shared a dream and stuff like that. Now I have a couple of paranormal stories and a couple of UFO stories. Whichever one you want. You know, I'm a New Yorker. Forget about it. So it will take me less than 5 minutes to share it.
Well, holy cannoli, why don't you share them both?
Okay. One is a little bit kind of, I'll make it PG. Back in '99, I stood with my cousin. I shared this with Yankee Dave Rigetti, forget about it. Dave Scott Rigetti. I called in and shared that. But one was '99. I left college. My cousin had a good friend of hers that was constantly coming in, and we kind of hooked up a little bit. I had no idea that she was engaged, so I stood like 2 weeks in her apartment and stuff like that, and I would sleep on the couch in the living room, and I had my duffel bag, right next to the door. Holy crap! Something kicked that duffel bag. I thought it was my cousin. I was about to, because I always have sheets above my head to cover the light. I was about to do that. Next thing, when I was trying to do that, I hear, I fainted. I fainted. And then the following morning, I asked my cousin, I was like, what the hell was that? She always had paranormal activity in that apartment. She was like, guess what? You messed around with her. She's engaged, and her mother died from an emphysema.
Oh, geez.
And then emphysema, that's how you can't breathe. You're. So I was just like, oh, I left. Forget about it. Second time was in my dormitory in college. I think it was 2000. Because I used to like do my reading at nighttime after 3:00 a.m. Eastern time. I would go to sleep, and then one night I'm lying in the bed trying to go to sleep, and my roommate, I see something going over my roommate, a white mist going over my roommate. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Am I going senile? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I apologize. Shh. I apologize. No, I won't. I said, what is this? And I'm like looking at it. I'm like, this is a lady with white hair, white long hair. And the next morning, the following morning, I was like, I'm seeing something on top of you. He was Indian American. He was, from India. So I'm asking. I saw this, and then on his desk, I saw a picture of his grandmother, and it was her. It was her. And then 2 weeks later, and I apologize for my profanity. 2 weeks later, he got run. He went to a party and got run over by a bus.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So to me, that was an indication, like, watch over him. But I wasn't as psychic then. So yeah. But I'll leave the alien stuff for later because I don't want to take too much time. I know you have several calls, so, and I already did a bad thing anyway. So
we have another caller after you, and we have an hour and a half to fill. So go ahead and share your other story. I'd love to hear it.
Okay. When I was about 5, 6 years old, I was in my godparents lived in the 12th floor of the apartment building. So I would sit. They had a chair there. I would sit down and watch, what's going on downstairs and stuff like that. I saw a UFO. The lights were going round and round. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I called them. Because they're adults, they're older than me. So I called them over to the kitchen window. So they of course, moved me away since I was 5 years old. And Next thing I know, they were calling my name, wondering where I was, and I was behind the bathtub. You know, the curtains closed
Mm-hmm.
in the bathtub and stuff like that, and I might have been abducted. I don't know, but since then, I don't like heights. I can't stand heights.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that was one of my experiences. And then 2011, summertime 2011, I was still dealing with the New Age community. So my sister was paying some bills. I was outside, and I called upon the Pleiadians. I said, show me if you're real. Show me yourself. And when I looked, it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. When I looked, there was a metallic object about 50 feet high up. Now, I know it's not because it was stable, it wasn't moving, and I live nearby 2 airports. So all the airplanes are low. But it was gray metallic, and that was my second experience. So thank you for giving me your time.
No worries.
I appreciate it.
Have you had any lost time or anything after those experiences?
Not the second one. I think the first one when I was a kid, because they were looking for me. They moved me away. They started looking, and then I wound up in the bathroom. Behind the curtains. I think that was my lost time that I had. But as a 5-year-old, you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's difficult to, in hindsight, go there and and figure it out. But it was it was an experience and a half. And
it's interesting how after that experience you gain that fear of heights. So something must have happened, but they try to erase things, so maybe subconsciously you remember, and it's like, holy crikey, get me away from the edge. I don't want to go up there. I'm all good.
No, absolutely, and and now I can, I've worked in astral traveling and what I like to call spirit traveling and stuff like that. So I'm not afraid that way, but physically I am. But
yeah.
you have several other callers, so I don't want to take away from your time.
Well, thanks so much for calling in, BTO. It was good to hear from you and see you. And I hope you up for the after party tonight? All right, we'll see you then.
Of course. All right.
All right. Have a good night. Bye. Well, our next caller comes from area code 313. Who are we talking to? Don't forget, you might be muted. Are you there? All right, 313. If you can hear me, we can't hear you and you're muted. So let's see. We have about 22 minutes before we go to break. And you guys are going to force me to recap on my scary stories. We actually have had some recent ones going on, and it's funny because a lot of times things kick up around the house while I'm gone. One of the last incidents was the TV kept turning on by itself. And so I'm working night shift, so Nova ends up going in and sleeping in her room with her dad. Before that, we had our dog Hercules. Sounded like something hit him, and when we saw him, he was laying on the ground and like kind of cowering, as if something had hit him. I keep hearing static. Is our caller on there? 313? Before that, we had, I have a wall where I hang pictures of my deceased loved ones, and the picture of my brother Bear it didn't just fall off the wall. There was a bed in front of it. I believe it's a double bed. Could be queen size, and it flew over the bed and onto the floor, and the glass broke and the picture fell out. And then a bunch of stuff got knocked off of the gun cabinet and the dresser in the hallway. So that was weird. We've had all kinds of crazy experiences in this house. When we first came to look at the house, I was just like, this is home. This is my home. I'm totally going to live here, and, I've loved it from then on out. My first experience here was hearing a man in like BTO, I believe it was BTO, maybe it was somebody else. Yeah, it was BTO talking about the mother who died from emphysema. My first experience here, I was alone in the house, kids were at school, my husband was at work, and I'm getting ready for work to go bartend at the casino, and grab all my stuff, go out the door, and as I go out the front gate, that's where my bedroom window is, and my window is open, and I could hear a man coughing, and I did not recognize this voice, but it scared the bejesus out of me, and, I was like, man, I'm glad I'm getting to go to work, because had I heard that, I wouldn't want to stay here. And so then I told my neighbor, aka Sister Lisa, about it, and she's like, oh yeah, it was a man named John, and he passed away there from emphysema. He actually died in the house. So then I felt more comfortable with it. I wasn't afraid of it. I knew he was there, and perhaps that was his home, and he was happy, and he didn't want to go anywhere. And before I get to the next story, I'm going to give you guys the number again in case you want to call in. It's 1-970-335-9596. 1-970-335-9596. And I might even call bomb my sister. Forget about it. Holy cannoli, she'd be so surprised. So the next incident we had after that, I didn't see it, but my kids did, and I'm in the house playing poker with a couple of my roommates, and, I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. My kids are playing outside. Kinsey's probably making a mud pie for Nova to eat, and Nova's eating it, and Kinsey's getting in trouble again. Well, Nova said that I came out of the house, and I was wearing a white dress, and I was like, hey, come over here to the tree fort with me. We have these large, I swear they're at least 150-year-old blue spruce trees in the backyard of our house, and it makes sort of like a tree cave. So we call it the tree fort, and it's the coolest place during the summer until a couple years ago we got AC, but she went out there. Nova said she heard growling within the trees, and all of a sudden this person looking like me pushes her to the ground and runs away, locks the door, and just sits there and laughs at her as she's afraid and trying to get back through the door. She finally found her way into the house and was crying and came up to me and was like, Mom, why'd you push me down? There's a growling sound out there. It really scared me. Why'd you push me down and run off and leave me? And I was like, I wasn't out there. I've been here this whole time, and I'm sorry that happened to you, but that wasn't me. You can even ask these guys. I think it was Erica and Jason. I can't remember his name. And then again, my two girls saw this entity in my kitchen doing my dishes, which, if that's what they're going to do, I wish it would come back. But yeah, she's standing there looking like me, doing the dishes and didn't have any sort of contact with the kids after this point. So yeah, that scared me for a while because I'm like, why do I have a doppelganger? What's the next step? And they're not the only ones who saw it. My brother our family got separated when I was 5, almost 6. We were all kids. My mom was killed by a drunk driver. My older siblings went to live with their dad, and me and my little brother stayed with our dad. Well, I finally got back in contact with my big brother, and I wanted to see him, and he's a workaholic, so he wasn't going to come out. So I ended up buying a ticket for him because I know after so many conversations of planning a time for him to come, he's not going to come unless I spend my money on a ticket and force him to. So he came out, and we had a great time. He helped me finish my bathroom. We had gone out to the Billy Goat Saloon and another bar that was here in the area. But one night after going to Tequila's, he went to bed early, and we're all sitting out in the living room watching TV, and he comes out, rubbing his eyes, looking all disheveled, and he says, "What did you want?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What did you want? You came in and said, 'Gary, you got to get up. Gary, come on, get up.'" And I was like, "No, I've been sitting here this whole time watching TV. I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "Well, you just came in and you woke me up." So then I was like, "Great, this thing's back again." I also had fear for my life for a while due to what I and my sister believe is some sort of curse or something on our family where something is after us as far as taking our life. And once I got past the age of my mom, I felt comfortable and safe and that I had beat it. But I'm not gonna, I don't know if I should even say that. I think I beat it and I'm safe, but you never know. All right, do we still have caller 313 on there? Well, I keep hearing background noise, but I do not know who it is. Anywho's, well, I feel all alone out here. I should call bomb my sister. What do you guys think? Let me add her to the call. Add people. And she's got some good stories, and she's actually been having some experiences since she's been back home that have really been tripping her out. Like, we've had so many things go on throughout our lives, paranormal and whatnot. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can get her on here, and she can tell you a little bit more about it. We were on with her. Jason and Joe said they hear snoring. They think the caller fell asleep. Could be. I don't know. But if you guys tuned into our show, I wish I would have thought of a better title for it, but I called it...
Happy with your message.
Oh,
At the tone, please record
answer.
your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Anywho's, we got into a lot of our scary stories, and we were not actually able to get through all of them, so I want to have her back. But we do have a caller. Yay! Okay, so we have a 512 area code. Who are we talking to? Oh no! I'm gonna call him back. Hey,
Hello?
I just lost you. You got disconnected. Who are we talking to?
This is Dale in Austin. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you, Dale? So good to hear your voice.
Pretty good. Enjoying the show. I have had Well, I had two paranormal experiences. I'll tell you about one of them and see what you think about it. So I was driving from my house over to a local shopping center, and I saw something strange in the sky. And it was definitely not a plane, and it was basically stationary. And I was looking at it because it did not look like it was from around here. It looked like all I could see, I couldn't see any structure. I could see the outline of lights, and it looked kind of like a diamond shape. And in the middle of it, the light was unsteady. It was almost like it was like seeing smoke or something that was kind of a yellowish orange color. And I looked around, and I didn't particularly want to get abducted, so I kept doing what I was doing for a while, kept driving along the route where I was wanting to go. And then I started seeing people pulled over and looking up at it. I went, okay, well, they're not getting abducted, so, apparently if you see it, you don't necessarily have been in it. So I pulled over, and I looked at it for a while, and then I saw there was this thing down below it that was almost like a cattail or something. It was weird, and then I figured it out. It was a kite. And somebody had painted it with luminescent colors and was illuminating it with either a laser or some other, tight light source. And it was cool. I mean, there must have been 50 or 60 people who had pulled over in the area and were looking at it. And, we're getting a variety of interesting reactions, like, what would you do if you saw a UFO kind of reactions. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah, at first they were freaked out, and then they were sad because they weren't actually having an experience.
Right. Yes. Because at first I was going, okay, I'm going to take evasive action by doing exactly what I'm doing. And then I was like, no, wait a minute. I've always wanted to see one of these things, so why don't I go look at it? So anyway, turned out to be a kite, and I was very amused.
Right.
So that's all I had. Hope you have a great night.
Well, thanks, Dale. I'm so glad you called in, and that was a very interesting yet funny story.
Talk to you later.
All right, have a good night, Dale. All right, so area code 313 called back. Who are we talking to?
Cheryl.
Hello?
From Michigan.
And
Cheryl from Michigan.
How do you say your name again? I'm sorry.
Cheryl from Michigan.
Oh, Cheryl. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I have a couple of really short stories.
Okay.
They happened to me, and it was a couple places where I used to live. First of all, I'll start in Texas. I used to live in a small town in Texas, and there's this tree that people used to hang black people from. And they say all kinds of things happen, especially when it rains or at night, stuff like that, around this tree. So one day I had to walk by the tree to get somewhere. And I walked by the tree, and it was misting raining out. And all of a sudden I heard footsteps behind me. So I looked behind me and didn't see nothing. So I sped up to get out of there, walking. Now the second story I have is it happened to be in Warren, Michigan, in a house I used to live in, group home. I was in my bedroom doing something, and I don't remember what I was doing. Guess I was getting ready to leave the house or something. I don't know. But anyway, we had a tenant that died at a bus stop. And she collapsed at the bus stop and they couldn't revive her. So, yeah. So one day I was, like I said, I was in my bedroom. And all of a sudden I heard this laugh. And it sounded just like the person that died. I went in that room and I was going to say something and nobody was there. Those are my stories.
So did that freak you out? Like, did your hair raise? Did you feel like something was there?
No, not really. It really didn't do anything to me because I knew the person.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad she came back and that she was in a happy state. That she had laughter to share with you. That was pretty awesome.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for calling in and sharing your story. It was so great to hear from you and hear your experience.
Thank you.
She had laughter to share with you. That was pretty
You have a good night, Cyril.
You too, thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Next, we have area code 917. Who are we talking to?
Hi, Tess. It's the birthday girl, Daryl.
Happy birthday, Daryl.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope these are scary enough. I have a couple stories. I'll tell you one. When I was living in Canada, in Toronto, there was an actor's house, and they had hired, it was a 4-bedroom house when we had, 4 actors from America working up in Canada. But eventually they hired a lot of Canadians, and I was the last American.
Uh-huh.
So I was all alone. I was by myself in this house on Dundalk and Broadview and Dundas, if anyone knows Toronto. It was in the middle of fucking nowhere. Oh, sorry to say that word. Middle of nowhere, really far from downtown. You take 2 trains and then you walk 6 blocks. And in the wintertime, I can't tell you, it's really it's hard to get to, and it's isolated,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a separate private house. Now, this house creaked no matter what. You could not sneak in that house. You'd know somebody was coming.
Yeah.
It was an old house. There's no way you could tiptoe in there. You would just make so much noise. So here I am. I'm by myself. There's nobody visiting. There's nobody ever visiting. Nobody from America. And I hear somebody walking up the stairs. I'm like, oh my God. There is no way. Nobody walks in the front door. Nobody let themselves in. Nobody's expected. And my heart was pounding. I just knew there was nobody there. And it literally, I could hear every step it took, right up to the top steps. When I had switched bedrooms to the one at the top of the stairs so I could get out faster. So I was the first bedroom it would come to. And literally, I had my covers over my head, and it literally just came up to me and into my ear just said, hi, which made me scream bloody murder. I was screaming so loud. I'm surprised nobody called the police. Hi. That was it. I'm like, oh, please, I can't handle this. So that was one of the stories. That house was crazy. And then in my own apartment, I have so much going on in there. I have clicking aliens in my kitchen. They're constantly chatting. All I have to do is say, what are you talking about? And they'll shut up, who are you talking to? Stop, Otherwise they click. You talking
to me?
Yeah, right? Are you talking to me? Can we, I even try to say, hey, let's try to communicate. Like, how about 2 clicks to yes, 1 click to no? You know,
There's
can I ask you a question? Nothing.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to me. But I thought it was the refrigerator, and when my refrigerator broke, when I replaced my new refrigerator, there was no way the new refrigerator clicked. That's when I realized it was not the refrigerator; it was my apartment. You know. So anyway, but that doesn't scare me. But I had once. There seemed to be like a lot of animals in my house, and you can even hear them. Like if you videotape it, you can hear them meowing and hissing. Like, but they look like I saw big game animals, and I'll tell you, one I had locked in a closet, and it was pushing and shoving the closet to the point where I had to like get a bookcase to shove it like against the door. And once I did that, I don't know what happened. It was the same day, but there was I just felt this presence of a lot of big animals, like you know, like on a tundra in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, I was so scared. They threw me out of my own apartment. And I looked through my peephole, and like a little mouse jumped into the peephole. And I'm thinking, I'm probably crazy, or I'm seeing something. But I need to know, like, maybe someone could tell me if I'm crazy or not, you know. So I asked my neighbor, this lady came upstairs and said, could you do me just a little favor? Just can you look through my peephole and tell me what you see? And she looked at my peephole and she said, girl, you got to move.
You got to get out. Well, the getting's
you got to
good.
get out of that apartment, you know.
Yeah.
So she saw what I saw, you know, which was crazy. And I did take a picture, and I did get a shot of the mouse. But that's all I could get. Like, I couldn't, like, get any of the wild game. I don't know how they just stopped coming around. I don't know. I don't know how I got rid of them, but there was a while there that they had the best of me. I was getting thrown out of my own apartment. They were scaring me that much. But, and then one time, a bookshelf that was there forever. I knew this thing was going to fall on me. I just, out of the blue.
Daryl, honey, Daryl, listen. Daryl. We got to go to our first break. Can you hold your story till after the break?
Okay.
All right.
Okay, no problem.
All right, we'll be back with the birthday girl after these messages. You guys don't go anywhere. Wrong one.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter. So come give The Encounter a read.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Sit back, relax, grab a drink, and listen closely. Spaced Out Radio continues through the weekend. From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Weekend with Tessa Nicole Thomas.
I like this new going back into the show song. It really gets me all revved up. That's awesome. Thanks, Dave. But we're telling our own ghost stories because our guest, Ace Montgomery, had to run to save his wife because her water had broken, and she's 8 months pregnant, so he's taking her to the hospital to make sure she's not going into early labor. I would say maybe it's going to be born on your birthday, but I think in Kentucky it's past that time.
Oh, almost. There'll be a slight Libra.
Right?
Libra and Scorpio rising.
That would be awesome. So you were going to get into your story about the bookshelves, and I had to cut you off, which I hate doing. I feel so rude, but we have to do the commercials. It's a commercial, a radio commercial.
No problem. Make that money. These are just 2 short ones, but the bookshelves have been there forever. I don't know how it was imbalanced, but this thing was so tall and it was full of books. And I knew I had to stop it from falling. And I literally, like, it fell on me, but I had just caught it before it collapsed on me. But I was holding it with all my might, and I had to get some leverage to just, stick under it so it would be, go back against the wall and, lever it. But this was like, I'm sweating, like, just took me almost an hour to get, like, the right book, without, like, not letting go, so that was one thing. But the other thing that was weird was I was washing my floor in the kitchen, and I had a huge, beautiful red vase that was on top of the refrigerator. And it had a freezer door. Now, the freezer door was like a good 2 inches, so you had to open the door to get into the freezer. Now, I'm on the floor, on my hands and knees. This red vase cleared that 2-inch shelf and another gap and fell on my back and shattered. And I did not get hurt. I don't know how. I didn't even get, like, a cut. But I could have been really severely hurt. It was a heavy vase. And I'm thinking, how in the world did that clear that 2-inch gap and the gap, the rubber part, to fall over onto my back? Just what the heck, And this is just, it's almost every day I'm, like, avoiding falling flat on my face with something always, like, winds up twisting around my leg or some kind of, wire or cord that winds up, trying to trip me. I can't be that clumsy that, I'm almost always going to fall on my face. But it feels like it, So maybe I'm just became so accident prone, or there's some pretty crazy activity going on in that thing. I don't know. So those are my little scary stories that I could think of. Oh, and there was one more. I was in this theater in Maine, and I slept in the top of the theater in the attic with the owner's daughter. We were the only ones in the building. And I can't remember why, but it was surrounded by beach. It was a sandy coastal seaside summer stock theater. I was doing Godspell there. And at night, this theater was also really creaky. You could not get into the theater without making noise. And what was it? I'm trying to remember. We were scared to death. Oh, my God. I don't remember exactly what happened. But there were footsteps that were leaving. I think you could see the footsteps in the sand departing the theater. Now, we had, long been inside, so they weren't ours. They were fresh footsteps. So there was, like, absolutely no explanation. Like, nobody had come in. They left, though. We saw their footsteps in the sand, So that was kind of scary. That theater was scary. Later, we were so scared they actually gave us, like, a bungalow that they could have rented to tourists, to sleep in. Because it was, actually, a cook once came passed out on the bed next to us. So I think that was more, our scary story wasn't enough. The drunk chef gave us our own private bungalow. So we were safe after that. So that's it. All right.
Well, it is funny how theaters or stages or whatever do have sometimes that certain sort of energy. When we did the world's largest ghost hunt this last year, well, it was actually this year, a couple weeks ago, the area that we were secluded to because there was a wedding party in the hotel and we couldn't go up to where Luigi had killed himself and, all sorts of other things happened. We were in the basement where all the miners used to stay, and then that was also where the original bar was during the Prohibition era, where you couldn't have alcohol. It was downstairs, and the miners had this certain entrance, and when we weren't even set up yet, we're sitting outside talking after the owner, actually the general manager, but his father's the owner, had showed us around, told us all these stories, and me and Cheryl are sitting outside talking, and all of a sudden she's like, that door just opened. And so I ran over to the window and she ran over to the side where the door was and looked on the sidewalk. Well, I'm looking down the stairs of the original miners' entrance because they weren't permitted to go through the front entrance. They had their own entrance because they were considered lower level humans. So the store opened, and before it even shut, I'm at the window looking down the stairs. Nobody's there. She's looking down the sidewalk. Nobody's there. So that was the first paranormal experience, and that was at like 6:30 in the afternoon.
Wow.
And then we're down in the basement where there's a coal chute where 2 miners had actually been buried after they got in a fight in the bar for some reason. I'm like, why would anybody bury someone down here? I don't get it. But they buried them in there. I left my recorder in there, which I still have to look back on if I got any, any voice phenomena or anything. But in this theater, we, ran the people through that are guests. This is what we do. This is how we do it. Here's how we can protect you. This is how you can protect yourself. And can you sign this form of release? So they signed that. They all came down. I was doing the theater room. The other girls were in this conference room, which was right next to a room where a ghost had been picked up on EVP. So they're in there playing poker and having fun, and I'm in the theater room with my laser grid set up on the stage, and you can totally see this person moving back and forth through the lights, and then it looks like 2 people, and then at one point our EMF detector behind the curtains on this bar stand in the back starts going off, and everybody's just sitting in the stage seats like wanting to go back there. I'm like, if you want to go back and check it out, you can, like, just to see what's going on. Nobody's touching it, go check it out. We had a lot of activity. That night we all slept in the theater, aka old bar room, and I can't go to sleep early. Like, the rest of my crew is going to bed early, and I can't sleep. I even brought my tequila and took a couple shots, and Melanie's listening to me as I'm talking to her, and I'm telling her about this dream I had, and you could hear her start going into that slow, like, sleep rhythm of breathing and starting to kind of snore. And then all of a sudden she jolts up and she's like, did you just tap me on the shoulder? And I was like, no, I was sitting here talking to you, and I thought you might have been falling asleep, but I just kept talking, hoping you were still listening. And she's like, no, I was drifting off to sleep, but somebody tapped me 3 times on the shoulder. I was like, wow, that's really weird. So she was up with me for a couple hours after that. But then Cheryl, not more than 10 minutes later, she's been asleep for a while. And then all of a sudden she sits up and she's like, did you just touch me on the hip? And I'm like, no. And she's like, I felt 3 taps on my hip. And I was like, I didn't touch you. Me and Mel have been sitting here talking, and I got goosebumps on my legs right now. And during our procession of telling them about our tools and ways they're used and things that they do, 2 people that had been there before and had written ghost tracks, co-written, and written other ghost stories about the area were there because the owner couldn't be, or the general manager. And so they were there in his stead, and they're sitting in the back, and they get up and they're pointing and they're talking. And so I go back to them and I'm like, what's going on? Is everything okay? And they're like, there's this figure and it's crawling up the aisle and then it crawled back, and it's trying to get under the stage, but it can't because it's closed off. So it's just like fighting against the wood, trying to break through it as a spirit would. But it really creeped me out that it was crawling on the floor. And Cheryl, she laid right in the path of that, and I was like, I would not sleep there. If I was Cheryl, I would not be sleeping there tonight. And I don't know if she knew about what we had experienced. I think she might have been in the other room or doing something else in the theater or somewhere else. But yeah, she laid right in the path of that thing, and she got tapped too. And Mel, at first she was sleeping over in the other aisle area on the other side. Well, if you're going into the theater, it's on the right hand side. She's laying there, and the theater seat right next to her starts creaking as if somebody's sitting in it and moving around. You know, it's an old theater seat. It's leather, and it's got those little pin points, you know, the little octagon pins stuck in it. She's like, somebody is sitting in the seat. They're moving around. I feel like they're watching me. I'm moving over here next to you. And I'm like, good. You know, then I have somebody to talk to, because I cannot go to sleep early. Like, no matter how hard I try or how tired I am, I just can't do it.
Right. There's something about the 3 times knocking on the... I was just listening to the Bigfoot thing. Mm-hmm. We should not knock 3 times. 1 time is enough for something like that.
Yeah, or 2 even.
Anything to do with ghosts, too, or paranormal stuff. But there's something about the 3-time knocking. Maybe when it's good, or, you know, when you should do it, when you shouldn't do it, but don't do it to Bigfoot. 1 time is enough, apparently. According, I think it was to Sue Walker.
Yeah. So if it were me, I might do 2, because I always doubt myself. Did I do it hard enough? Did I do it the right way? Okay, let me try one more time. But like the 3, everybody's saying, you know, knock 3 times if you really want me, or knock 3 times if you're talking to a ghost. Like, let's leave that 3 out of there. 2's good. Let's not go that far. Okay, maybe 5.
Yeah. If the answer is no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, anyway. Well, thank you so much, Tess, for sharing my birthday and some slightly scary stories. Ooh, not really scary.
Ooh. Well, I'm so glad you called in and shared, and, you know, you're like, I don't know if they're scary enough, but I don't care how scary it is. Like, it's still weird and paranormal, and even the one you were sharing with me about the animals and the mouse in your peephole, like that is just strange. How do you even get that? That's epic.
Oh, that was crazy. I don't know if I didn't say that on the air.
Yeah. If you want, you can share that story too, because that was just amazing.
Well, there was a point where there were so many animals in my apartment. Like, I literally would get thrown out of my own apartment because I was so afraid of them. I mean, there was like safari type, you know, big game animals, you know, tigers and elephants and stuff. And I left my apartment, and I looked through my peephole, and literally a little mouse jumped up into the peephole, and they took a picture of it, and I got a real vivid picture of this mouse. So I think I'm going crazy, or I have some animals in my house. I don't know. So I asked one of my neighbors when she came by to do me a favor. I said, would you just look through my peephole and tell me what you see? And she said, sure. And she looked through my peephole. She looked at me and she goes, you got to move. You got to move. You got to move. So she saw what I was saying. She saw, I mean, it was really like, you know, you could practically hear the elephants, you know. But I don't know. It took a while, but they finally went away. I mean, but I was like getting thrown out of my apartment pretty much on a regular basis, usually at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, man.
And I would have to like go to Rite Aid, that was 24 hours, and try to find something that would give me ammunition to go back into my apartment. Like, I never knew what it would be, but sometimes it would be, you know, like something made out of peppermint, you know, spray, or sometimes one time I just found saran wrap, and I thought that would be a good idea. To put saran wrap around me. I don't know, but it made me feel safe. I know I sound like out of my mind, but it happens so often at 3 a.m. and I'd have to, sometimes I'd wait till the sun would come up. Thank God that's over. That happened like 7 years ago.
It's funny because, like Ace was saying earlier, like, I'm not at home right now. I drove down to this truck stop to talk to you and do this interview because I don't want to bring this energy home with me. Do you ever feel like if you talk about it in your house, it's going to rear its ugly head again, or do you feel comfortable to talk about it?
I think at this point, with all the times I've listened to Spaced Out Radio and paranormal shows about weird things, like I did feel sometimes that there was energy that was around me because I was listening to the shows. But I think now I don't think I have time for it anymore. I think I don't have patience for this type of stuff, and it stopped,
Yeah.
I don't know if I did anything to, I staged and I did all the, recommended routines and, had a few people bless me remotely, blah, blah, blah. But, the activity has definitely calmed down. I'm not as scared anymore, so they don't come around. Maybe they just are feeding on my fear. And I'm not feeding them anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's what I try to tell my
Thank
kids. God. Like, don't fear it. Don't be afraid of it. We're all going to be ghosts someday.
I'll be haunting somebody.
Yeah, and if it isn't just a regular ghost and it is something negative, you don't want to feed it that negative energy of fear or anger or whatever you may be feeling at the time. Just try to coexist with it and realize, this is actually the norm. A lot of people don't accept it or don't believe it, but still, I feel like it's normal to me.
Who knows how many dimensions and whatever we're living amongst, it could be like thousands of dimensions that are cohabitating on the same planet,
right.
And the veil is getting thinner, and I see some of them, I don't know. I mean, I had one time I was at a ghost tour, and I saw a cowboy leaning against this tree, and nobody saw it, and I'm thinking, all right, yeah, I'm crazy. I'm not, no. And then this medium came up. I said, do you see something over there? She says, what, the cowboy leaning against the tree? I'm like, do you see a cowboy leaning against the tree? She goes, yeah, I'm a spirit medium. I'm like, thank God. She was the only other person that saw him. So that was really awesome, that kind of get validated. On the spot. I didn't even have to feed her the information. She's the one who volunteered exactly what I had said. She was not in earshot of me, so she definitely volunteered it, without any encouragement. So, that was kind of cool. But he was so far away, he couldn't scare anybody.
Right. Well, I'm so glad you called in. Did you have a good birthday today? Was it a good birthday?
Something... It was better than last year.
Well, that's an improvement.
Yeah, this was more social than last year. So yeah, I'm very happy.
Well, if you want,
I'd like to.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so glad you called in, and it was so good to hear your voice. And I was going to say, if you want, you can call in for the after party and hang out with us, because we act a fool and. Yeah, we have fun, and if you want to come on Skype video, you can watch me and Robert make faces at each other in BTO, and Robert will show his stones and beads and stuff, and I think my sister's going to be there.
That sounds great. Sounds great. I'd love to join you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No worries. I'd love to have you on. All right.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Have a good night, Daryl. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we don't have another caller, but Tripp informed me that he had a statement in here, and you know how he does his posts and everything, so when I see a big grouping from him, I just assume that it's advertisement, but he actually has a story in here. And he says, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, my dad would take me to Tomuka State Park, pretty much a swamp. The road was a 2-lane road with trees throwing over it. Being in Florida, moss would hang from trees so far it would almost hit the vehicles. On a full moon, he would hit the high beams, then turn them off, and it would glow green like we were driving through a tunnel. One of the dirt roads we would turn off on when a few miles to the river. Mind you, it was in the middle of the swamp. There was an area about the size of a football field he would stop at during a full moon. When he'd pull up, he'd park in a certain spot. You could see where there was a foundation to a house. We'd get out, walk over to the certain spot, and when the full moon would be at a certain angle, somehow, some way, we could see the outline of a house. Move a few feet to the left, we could see the window and look good enough and could see a rocking chair rock. That's pretty awesome trip, and that actually gave me goosebumps. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I hear somebody on the line. Let me look over here. Did I miss somebody? We have area code 917. Who are we talking to? Hello? I'm wondering, is that Daryl on hold?
Oh.
Are you still there? If so, you can hang out if you want to till the after party. It's all good. Just make sure you mute yourself. You weren't being loud or anything. I could just hear something, and I wasn't sure what it was, and I thought I was missing somebody, but luckily I wasn't. Well, I'm so glad Daryl called in on her birthday. That was awesome. And she just hung up. You didn't have to. It's okay. Here, let me make that small. As long as I don't exit out, you can still hear me. Because Skype and Spreaker are actually connected. But I actually had a story here from somebody that wrote it that I wanted to tell. I'm a female and the youngest out of me and my brother. I have lived in the same house for about 18 years now. I would like to say that I'm a pretty religious person. I go to church and even go to a Catholic school. But I'm not the kind of to shove my religion or beliefs down your throat. So naturally, I believe in the paranormal and the supernatural. I was about 12 to 13 years old when my first paranormal occurrence happened. I have always had a messy room, and you know what they say, cleanliness is next to godliness. Well, I was the opposite, and I had a messy room all the time. Finally, something clicked in me that I didn't want a dirty room anymore, so I cleaned my room top to bottom. I threw things out, I swept, I even rearranged my room. My room was a medium-sized room, in a square-like shape. From the door off to the left is where I originally had my bed. I moved it clear across the room to have it in a completely different spot. So now it was right across from my door, and I always slept with my door open to the hallway. The light would come into my room. So later that night when I went to bed, the hallway light would shine into my room, making it hard for me to sleep. Finally, I was able to fall asleep with the light shining on my face. Well, I always had a thing when I was little that I would wake up in the middle of the night to change my position. I always slept on my stomach or my sides. Like every other night, I woke up to switch from my stomach to my side. Well, when I turned around to lay on my side in the darkness, I saw this thing. Now, I don't know if you guys ever have had or read the childhood scary book series called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Well, in the first edition, there's a small song called The Slithery D. Might have spelt it wrong. Well, in this page, there on the bottom is a creature with a head too big for its body, completely round, and it's covered in hair or fur from head to toe. It had a tail and, of course, claws. Well, the thing looked just like it, besides its legs. In the dark, I could see it. It was darker than night. It was looking right at me, and it was crawling onto my bed, to my legs. But I could tell that when I looked at it, it was just as scared of me as I was of it. It froze and stared at me. I freaked out, and like any other kid, I jumped under the blankets and put a pillow over my head. I didn't feel the thing anymore, nor did I hear it. I was just debating on whether I scream for my dad or just go back to sleep. I chose to fall back to sleep. I couldn't tell if it had left or if it was still on my bed. I couldn't feel it or hear it, so as I waited for a half an hour, I was in complete horror. I woke the next day to no clue if the thing was still there or if it was gone. But there was no place for it to hide. I had no underbed, no closet. The only thing I had was a messy bedroom for things to hide in, but my room was clean, and my room stays clean, so things like that can't hide. I don't know what it was, and I know for a fact it was not a dream or a shadow. It was real. As I get older, I learn more about things. I try to connect to it or something. So far as all I know, I can think of is that it was a shadow person. Was it there to hurt me? I doubt it. I wouldn't have froze when I looked at it. It would have jumped to the chance. Was it there just to watch me? I don't know. I don't know what it was. What was it there for? That's so creepy. That gave me goosebumps just reading it. And again, you guys, if you want to call in with your ghost stories, the number is 970-335-9596. 970-335-9596. So I have another story that I'm looking at here. Hold on one second. La 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 la. Okay. So this one's pretty creepy too. Oh, sorry, I dropped my phone. So this took place in my parents' home. But before I tell my story, I want you to know I never heard of a shadow person. I knew nothing about their existence, but that was about to change. In my childhood home, we had a lot of explained things happen. Lights would cut on and off, the faucets would run. We heard walking in the hall. We heard voices. We saw little twinkly lights that would dance around in the dark. I heard growling and something calling my name. My sister had moved into my parents' house with her 2 children. She was going through a divorce and needed a place to stay. Their room was next to mine, connected to my bathroom. I had just woken up. It was early morning. I remember like it was yesterday. The sun was shining through the window. I could see everything. I could hear my mother and sister talking in the kitchen. They were talking about me. See, I had just graduated from high school and didn't have any plans for college. I laid there listening to them. My mom said I was a screw-up. But to be fair, how was I to go to college without any money? My father made too much for financial aid, and they didn't have anything to put back for me. As I laid there listening, I started to cry. I must have fallen asleep. Next thing I noticed, my bed started shaking. I laid there for a minute thinking it was the washer shaking the house. But then I got to where the shaking was strong. I turned over, and to my surprise, there was a shadow in the shape of a human at the end of my bed. I didn't feel fearful, and then the shadow spoke. All it said was, "Hi, Elizabeth." And then it was gone. I got up after that, but I couldn't comprehend what I had just seen. I did some research and discovered it was a shadow person, and I have seen it a few times since then, but the strange thing is, it has never scared me, and it has not spoken to me since. See, when it comes to stories like that, I wonder, is that a shadow person, or is that your grandma, or your great-grandma, or your aunt, or somebody that has been trying to speak with you? Sometimes they come to form in a white mist shape. Sometimes it's a black mist shape. It just depends on what energy you can draw from, I believe. But yeah, that's so interesting, and I actually got goosebumps at a point in that story as well. So this one is called I'm Back, Stephen the Ghost. And if you guys want to call in with your stories, it's 970-335-9596. That's 970-335-9596. And I think I want some water, but I don't want you guys to hear that on air. Okay, so here it goes. It's bad enough I've had trouble with my TV changing channels without me touching the remote. Previous visits from a really scary hag pulling my quilt from the end of my bed, and from Stephen the Spirit who kept jumping under my sheets. It was Monday night, the 8th of October, and there was nothing on TV. So I decided to read some comments on YGS, followed by watching some wildlife documentaries on my tablet. I watched quite a few until finally I got tired enough to sleep. I switched my tablet off and put it on the window ledge. I covered up under my cozy soft quilt and sighed, feeling totally relaxed. Suddenly, in the corner of my eye, I saw Stephen the ghost. Stephen. I quickly squinted and half closed my eyes because I was really scared. In blurred vision, I saw him grabbing my quilt. I quickly pushed him off with my arms and repeatedly said, "Get lost!" in my head over and over again. Finally, he left. What was only a minute seemed like 10 minutes of stress. I know I was awake, and it couldn't have been sleep paralysis. It was Stephen the Spirit. I recognized him from previous encounters. I have been doing, how do you even pronounce this? Rookdigens, cleansing, and shielding rituals regularly. I have never heard of that. Rookdigens. If you know what it is, see it in the chat. Mainly in my lounge room. I did it in my bedroom day before yesterday, which was the 13th of October. So this is an old story. I've been looking for some cleansing crystals, however I can't find any. I leave sage on all my windows and have sprinkled salt at my door, outside and in. The scary hag hasn't come back, thank goodness. I don't understand how Stephen the Ghost is getting through the cleansing/shielding spirituals or rituals. I really do hope he finds the light and moves on and leaves me alone. Any advice? Well, so far it seems like he's doing what he should with the sage and salt, but there are stones that can help. There's tourmaline, there's obsidian, there's selenite, amethyst if you have anxiety, rose quartz if you need the love. There's so many different stones that can help you out with those things, and there's so much new and different information coming out these days as far as that goes, so it's pretty awesome. And I'm missing other voices. You know, people don't generally want to hear other voices, but I'd love to hear from you guys. So let's see. Did I read this one? Sorry for the silence. I'm reading through this, hoping I didn't read this one yet. Radio silence is not good. Okay, I don't think I did read this one. If I did, stop me. Message me on Facebook because I'm on my computer reading this. So, for privacy reasons, I will not share the exact location this took place, but I will state it occurred in a newly built house in Southern California. I currently still live in this house. This event took place in the late 1990s. And I am going to take a drink right now. Hold on, guys. One night, when I was about 8 years old, I was sleeping in my sister's room with her. She was 4 years younger than me, and we sometimes slept in each other's bedrooms together as little kids. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and she was asleep. I didn't know if my mother and father were asleep also, but all lights in the house were off, which was normal for that time of night. I wanted to know if my mom or dad were awake, so I stood on the bed I had been sleeping on and looked through the open bedroom door through our hallway and into the living room of our first-story house. From the bed, I could see the back door to our backyard and part of the living room fireplace right of the back door. It was then I saw a supernatural entity. It appeared to be a humanoid figure in a white cloak. The entire figure was made out of bright white light that didn't seem to illuminate the room around it. Its face was hidden beneath the hood of the cloak. I couldn't tell if it seemed male or female. It looked slightly shorter than an average adult and seemed thin. It held its hands together in front of itself and silently paced back and forth in front of our fireplace. After seeing it pace back and forth a few times, I was overcome with fear and tried to silently lay back in bed and fall asleep, which I evidently did. The next morning I told my family about what I saw. I searched for any evidence of what happened that night, but it was unable to produce any evidence. I don't know if any of my family believed me, but my mother said she thought it was scary that I saw something in our house when I told her the next morning. The next morning, he goes on to say, I haven't seen anything like this since that event. I never brought up the event with my family again, but I've occasionally thought about it throughout my life and tell the story sometimes to friends and co-workers when I still wonder or discussing the paranormal and supernatural. I wanted to post this story to document this event. Now, as an adult, I still wonder what occurred that night so many years ago. I think it was some kind of spirit, maybe a ghost, but our house was brand new, and nobody had or has passed away in it yet. The land the house was built on was a field of chaparral before the neighborhood was built. And I don't know much else about the land, unfortunately. I hope someday I will find an answer to what I saw. And, you know, a lot of people say that when they come to Four Corners Paranormal Investigations. Well, it's a brand new house. I don't know why there would be ghosts here. Well, it has really nothing to do with the house. It has to do with the property or the land and what it has absorbed through whatever tragedy or whatnot that has happened there. There's so many energies. It could be residual. It could be collected in quartz or crystal or whatever else. You don't have to have a house or somebody killed in that house for tragic things to happen. Energy is energy, and whether it's intelligent or residual, it's going to be there. Okay, so this one is from EchoSpec P. I have had many ghost experiences in my life and have always considered myself to be a very spiritual person. With that being said, I have always been extremely cautious when it comes to the supernatural. I won't even let a Ouija board or tarot cards near me. I just don't like to mess with things because I know that I draw them in and have worked too hard on building an astral shield to let them in. However, that doesn't mean that I don't encounter some weird things. In my experience, I know that spirits are drawn to those who can feel them. I began attending a pretty old college last year as a vocal music major. This meant that I had and still have to spend hours in the basement of the theater practicing my repertoire. Since I've always been into the ghost stories, I decided to do some research about my school, and turns out the theater was a hot spot for activity between the founder of the building and a little girl haunting the space. The founder of the building has been known to show up in practice rooms and offer instruction to those practicing, which even I have a hard time believing. This spirit I do not fear. However, the little girl really alarms me. Usually, if there is no reason for a child to haunt a building, it is my understanding that this is a demon taking the form of something less threatening. Oh. I can hear my phone, sorry. What the crack was that? Okay, so before I get into what happened, I feel I just must explain a few things. The tiny practice room itself has a small square window in the door which looks out into the center where an upright piano stands. Each room has a piano and a very old metal music stand that creaks when you try to adjust its height. The walls are very thin, even people just listening to a YouTube video can be heard from the next room. Since the rooms are in the basement, everything from above in the theater can be heard. Once again, the story happened around 1 a.m. I was the only one in the building. As I began to practice, things started getting strange. I heard very clearly a man's voice in my ear, causing me to whip around. Now, I am a paranoid person, so I brushed this off as just continuing to practice. Then from the next room over, I heard one of the music stands slide up. I peeked my head out of the practice room to see what was going on, that I was still alone in the basement. I began to suspect that some sort of spirit was probably messing with me or trying to get my attention. I heard doors opening and closing, whispers, footsteps, and even a tap on my shoulder at one point. Finally, I had had enough. This was far from my first supernatural experience, and so I thought I knew how to deal with this. I said aloud that if something was trying to contact me, I wouldn't be able to help them, and that since there were a haunting in the theater, they must enjoy music. I told them they were more than welcome to listen to my practice. I think that's what angered them. The entire place went entirely silent, and I felt that perhaps whatever had been bothering me had left. As I opened my mouth to continue singing, from the next room over, I heard the music stand crash to the ground. That was enough. I began packing up my things, and as I looked out of the small window in the door, I saw a girl's head from the eyes up, peering at me. She had long black hair, and her eyes pierced the darkness. I actually screamed when I saw this, and ran out of the basement as quickly as possible. The next day I told my friend about my experience, and she said I was crazy, but I decided to write Ghosts and Dungeons on the sign to the practice rooms. I haven't had any other experiences in this practice room. However, I refuse to go down to the basement alone at night. There's something in that space. It may not be sinister. However, I don't want to be down there to find out if it is. You guys are so quiet out there. We got 10 minutes to go. Does anybody want to hop in and tell us a quick ghost story, paranormal, alien, UFO, you name it, we're taking it. But in the meantime, let me look, because I know you guys have heard my ghost stories, and I haven't told them all, but unless I sit down and write down what exactly I've gone through, I think I left off on being a teenager and having shadow people follow me, but I can't remember, so I'll have to backtrack to the Spooky Sisters episode with me and my beautiful sister Kathy. But until then, let's go on to this story. And this person says, our grandparents' house was so strange. While my parents, Alan and Natasha, were often away working with their business, they ran an import company for various antiques and fine wines for many years. Because it was difficult to travel with 3 youngest children, my siblings and I were often left in the care of our parental grandparents. Papa Charlie and Grand Florence were great and spoiled us rotten when we stayed with them. They lived in a 120-year-old house in an upper-class area of Atlanta, Georgia. Man, that area is just creepy crawling with critters. Grandpa had been left by his late Uncle Stephen, who was a well-known eccentric. It was quite large, 6 bedrooms and 4 full bathrooms, and a ballroom which was used as a roller skating rink. I want to go there. I love roller skating. The place was full of really weird artworks and very old furniture, but it was very, very comfortable. It did have heating and air conditioning for when the weather required it, and baths with weird claw feet that were at least then seemed big enough to use as swimming pools. And this person was 5 at the time. And they didn't leave a name. The name is In the TARDIS. Doctor Who! My siblings, twin sisters who were 9, and a 3-year-old brother loved being there during the day, but at night it felt strange. The place echoed strangely. Papa told us it was just the old house settling. We would have believed him if it was all just sounds. The first thing I noticed was this shadow that moved around the hallway. It wasn't something you just saw gliding around on the wall like a common shadow. This thing looked like a solid mass of darkness. It was the only hallway we saw, but it was different in different times and only at night. I tried to approach it and talk to it, but it only moved away faster and disappeared into the painting on the wall, or maybe just into the wall. It never said anything. It never gave off any good or bad. It just kind of came and went, but it sure was strange. Doors would open and shut. They were checked and rechecked for being badly fitted or having moved out of a square due to their age. The locks were checked, the hinges were checked, the doors were taken down and rehinged and rehung, but it still happened. You wouldn't see it happen. No one ever heard them open unless we personally opened them. They'd just open, then we would close them. They'd stay shut for a while and then open by themselves again. It was only the internal doors that did this. The front, back, and side doors didn't open unless we opened them ourselves. This confused us all. Another was the sound of a car with a big engine that was very loud would drive up our long curved driveway. We would hear it drive up the door and the engine turn off. Many times we'd go out and see who it was, but there was never anyone or any car there. A little while later, it would start up again, and we would hear it drive away again. Stranger still was the fact the front gates weren't only shut, but locked tight and bolted, as it always was unless we were going out. Certain nights we'd hear singing, a lady with a beautiful voice, and a well-played piano with music that sounded very old. 2 problems with this. Firstly, no one was in the house who knew music that was being sung. Let known be, this would happen. Secondly, there wasn't a functioning piano in the house. We had an old piano in the basement, but it was broken. All the wires inside were broken by something we didn't know what, and any keys were missing. Or many keys were missing, sorry. And the piano sound came from the front lounge room and the singing from the ballroom area, where we roller skated as our grandparents pretty much didn't use it. There are many other things, but this is something I thought I'd start with. If you're interested, I'll post other weird happenings of the house and our holiday home in Florida. Sadly, my grandparents have since passed on to the reward they earned in the afterlife. I miss them every day. My Uncle David and Aunt Deb in the house with my cousins now, and I rarely visit as my work really doesn't give me much time. Now and then, though, stories from my aunt and uncle and cousins filter down to me. The ghosts, or whatever they are, seem to still be around. Thanks for reading, and sorry it's a bit long. Cars I can fix, stories aren't my best thing, but I try. Sebastian. So we finally got a name. I was like, this person doesn't have a name. This is what they're going by. But those are pretty awesome. We have 4 minutes left if anybody wants to put a quick story in there. But perhaps I can get through this next one in short order. And I'm sorry I can't keep up with what you guys are saying in Spreaker and such at the moment because I'm over here reading this. This one says, I couldn't think of a title, so I used this one, which does fit. And the title is Weird Summer. On Friday, July 13th, I had major back surgery. My back had to be reconstructed. I am now fused from T8 all the way down to my sacral area. The surgery took about 9 hours with 2 surgeons. Problem was, they couldn't wake me up in recovery, which was a concern for the doctors, nurses, and my family. As for me, I was in total darkness, for I don't know how long. I mean, I don't feel like I'm in my body and I'm wearing normal clothes, nothing but darkness, time standing still. Suddenly, I hear familiar voices of people who have died. My grandparents are telling me it's okay if I want to let go and come home to them. They say I have been through enough and I need the rest. My father-in-law joins in saying the same. I make my decision. They are right. I knew going in that I could die. I start feeling lighter and floating, but something is stopping me. I feel like an anchor. I start to panic a little and start to pull at whatever is anchoring me. I gave one more pull, and all of a sudden I'm in pain back in my body, still trying to pull away. I opened my eyes, and my best friend had been at the hospital for most of my surgery with my daughter and my husband who works at the hospital. My best friend was the anchor. She had my hand in both of hers, and she was praying, holding my hand in her heart. I was awake for only a little while, but I found out that the nurses had been trying to wake me up for 3 hours, and I have to stay in recovery overnight because of my vitals. They got me up for a short walk on Sunday and sat me in a chair when we got back to my room. I had left my leg over my right, and I feel a dog nose on my toe. When I look, I saw an outline of a small fuzzy dog. Many years before, they had a dog lab in the infancy of heart surgery to learn procedures. So I guess they were working on dogs. That's interesting. Which made no sense to me when I found out, because a dog anatomy is nowhere near that of a human, but I guess a heart is a heart. I was at St. Francis Hospital, a top heart hospital. Then a few seconds later, I felt a tap on my head, like, hey, sit straight. Right after that, my nurse came in to see how I am, and I tell her I want to go back to bed. I had told the nurse and the nurse companions about a problem I had with an airbed like mine in another hospital years ago. It had broken. Thursday night, after a long walk with a physical therapist, I get back to my room and my bed is broken, so they had to get another bed. The next day I was discharged and was glad to be home. My son Eric, aka White Wolf, has been an incredible help. He took the New York State Trooper test last year and scored an 89 and made the list of candidates. I am so proud of him. A couple of weeks later, I was very sleepy after my alarm. My daughter didn't like the way I was sitting in the dining room chair, so she told me to go sit in the recliner in my sleepy state. I told her to F off because in reality, she could try the patience of a saint. I started sleepwalking a little while later and was at the kitchen sink, waking up trying to figure out why I can't walk and see what looked like a disembodied fist and forearm. I feel like I got punched in the heart. The hit was so hard it knocked me off my feet, and I fell flat on my back, knocking the wind out of me. I tried yelling for help, but it came out a little more than a whisper, so I rolled onto the side until I could get the strength to get myself back up, which took a while. I finally got up and got Eric. My heart felt funny, but I've had anxiety attacks because of my daughter before, so as long as I wasn't altered, we just put it down to that. Some things would vanish, then return after I said, put it back. I think the strangest thing of all is the dogs. We kept both parents and 3 of their puppies, weight ranging from 88 pounds. The father, a normal Malamute, to 131 pounds. The mother, an Amlute Malamute, aka Giant Malamute. All of the dogs have been as careful with me as they can, but will be rough with others. Holy shnikes. Gotta go to our closing audio, boys and girls. So, I want to say thank you so much to our guest, Ace Montgomery. He really was great coming on. And I think everyone in Spaced Out Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, Deep Talk Radio, and wherever else in the universe you are listening tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and it was my pleasure, literally and figuratively. And I can't wait to do it again Sunday night on Spaced Out Radio at spacedoutradio.com. It was so great hearing from you guys tonight and hearing your different experiences, encounters, and stories. No matter how scary or not scary you thought it was so great to hear your experiences and share that with you. And I hope to hear from you again. Tomorrow night we're going to have the Hunters on, the Hunters of the Paranormal, Astral, and so on and so forth. And we'll have that posted tomorrow night on spacedoutradio.com and SOR. But don't forget, you guys, we're all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we own the night. Like I said before, it was so great listening to you and reading your stories. I'm so sorry that our guest couldn't make it the whole time. But he was awesome. I hope to have him back again when he's less distracted and doesn't have a wife on the prime of having a baby. And I'm so excited for those two. A baby really is an awesome blessing. And I hope they name it after me or Daryl, being it's Daryl's birthday. That'd be so awesome. Until next time, guys, nighty-night, love and light to all my space cases out there. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday night, aka Sunday morning, and I'll see you guys all back here tomorrow night. If you'd like to join us, we're going to have an after party, and you can find us at 1-970-335-9596. That's 1-970-335-9596. You guys take care of yourself and take care of my yous. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow night. You guys sleep well. Hope to see you at the party. Bye-bye.